You're listening to Retail Disrupted, a podcast that explores the latest industry developments and the trends that will shape how we shop in the future. I'm your host, Natalie Berg. Hello, and welcome back to Retail Disrupted. Today, I am so excited to bring you my conversation with Kelly Cook. Kelly has just been appointed CEO at David's Bridal, and we had so much to talk about. Everything from AI and retail media to bridal trends and advice for future retail leaders. Kelly is a visionary executive with over 2 decades of leadership in omnichannel strategy, digital transformation, IT, branding, and marketing. Before she moved into the CEO role, Kelly was the CMO at David's. And before that, she held executive leadership roles at major companies like Continental Airlines, DSW, and Pier 1. In her previous roles, she spearheaded large-scale brand, marketing, and digital initiatives that redefined customer engagement. Her leadership has propelled organizations to new heights, boosting profitability, increasing stock value, and earning industry accolades from Newsweek for the best place to work for women and Forbes for the most inclusive marketing. This is a video episode, so if you are listening and would prefer to watch our conversation, you can head over to the Retail Disrupted channel on YouTube and tune in that way. Okay, without further ado, here is my conversation with Kelly. Kelly, welcome to Retail Disrupted. It's so great to have you here, and it's perfect timing because you've just been named CEO of David's Bridal, and there is so much happening in the business. We're going to get into all of that, but first, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Natalie, thank you so much for having me and, helping us share the amazing story of being a dream maker at David's and our new aisle to algorithm strategy. Well, if you want to know anything about me, the first thing you have to know is that I've been married to the love of my life, Scooby Snack of a husband for 31 years. And we have 5 amazing children. I had triplets, which means I had a litter. If you have more than 2 babies at a time, we call it a litter. And I have 2 very, very fat, spoiled basset hounds. Other than that, that's pretty much what you got to know about me. Started out in the airline business, went to Waste Management, the largest trash company in the world. When you're a female executive there, they say you're a woman of trash. Don't call me a trashy woman. So there you go. And then a mentor of mine who was the CEO of Blockbuster at the time said, Kel, you got to get in retail. You're going to love retail. And he was 1,000% right. Never left retail since, been all kinds of retailers. And now I'm a dream maker for life.
Was that James Keys at Blockbuster?
Yeah.
Ah, he's been on the podcast before. Small world.
Great human. Just a very giving, kind, helpful human. Yes, he was wonderful.
Oh, I love it. Retail is such a small world.
It is, isn't it? And I like that everybody helps everybody grow and sends the elevator back down. Isn't it amazing that retail's good? I love that.
Yeah, exactly. I actually had another retail CEO, a UK retail CEO, Nigel Oddie, come on the podcast last year, and he used that exact phrase, you have to push that button down for, the next generation. So we're gonna come on to that, and I want to get your views on all things retail. But first, let's talk about this huge strategic shift, because you guys have just announced the biggest shift in your 75-year history. You're moving away from being a traditional bridal retailer to becoming the ubiquitous leader in all things wedding. And we know this is a huge industry. It's a $65 billion industry. Kelly, tell us more about it. What inspired the shift, and what's the vision for the new strategy?
So the vision is aisle to algorithm, simply put. And it is, like you said, the most exciting time in David's history, 75 years. Do you know, Natalie, we have dressed more than 100 million women.
Wow.
Think about that. That is a lot of brides. That's a lot of bridesmaids. That's a lot of proms, guests of weddings. And even our head of couture and design, Viola Chen, has dressed more brides than any bridal designer ever. So it's an exciting industry. I love that the industry is about love, joy, hope, optimism, kindness, happiness. I mean, it doesn't matter what happened over the last 5 years, COVID, Omicron, murder hornets, snowmageddon, tornadoes. You can't cancel love. It doesn't happen, can't happen. And we love being dream makers in that industry. And more fine, to put a finer point on it, when you think about the pivot that we've just announced, going from aisle to algorithm, we pretty much dominate the wedding dress industry today. We're a third of the share, which means 1 out of every 3 brides walk down in a beautiful bridal gown by David's. By the way, we walked down the aisle with her. Not many people can say that. That is something that we love and cherish. But the strategic pivot of the company to become AI powered, data driven, asset light puts us in an opportunity to dominate, to your point, the $64 billion wedding industry TAM. And so we're super excited about it. We've got the right talent. I feel like coming in as CEO, my entire organization is filled with first round draft picks. That's how it feels coming in. It's a very, very exciting time.
Yeah, it sounds super exciting. So let's dive into some of the specifics of the strategy. A few months ago, you announced the launch of Pearl Media Network, which is the wedding industry's only first-party data retail media platform. And at the time of launch, you said that this will tectonically shift how advertisers capture bridal audiences through targeted content and moments. So tell us more about this, Kelly, and where do you see the big opportunities going forward?
That was well put, Natalie. If you want a job, just call me, because that was brilliant. By the way, that's absolutely true. So the most magical thing we have that is unlike others is what you said, which is first party data. So I started out my career in marketing and IT. So I know what it's like to, okay, we have a campaign. We want to target women, between the ages of 25 and 28, and they have these kinds of attributes, and let's go see if we can find them. The difference between everybody else in the industry and David's is that we already have her in the funnel, not somebody like her in the funnel, right? So we
Yeah.
actually have her, and that first party data absolutely transforms the 2.8 million wedding vendors that are in this industry. It transforms their ability to target the bride at the right time in the planning journey. And think about it. The planning journey for weddings on average is 18 months long. 18 months. Two, there's over 300 tasks that she is managing on a week to week basis. Three, she's consuming 10 hours of video content a week. Not, oh, I need to research on Pearl, my wedding vendors, or my DJ. No, she's actually, in addition to that, consuming 10 hours of video content. So when you put Pearl Media Network combined with the first party data that nobody else has, plus the acquisition of Love Stories TV, plus the fact that we have 200 stores and we have such a big footprint in the bridal gown market, that combined and making sure that we grow in an asset light manner, it's really an exciting time for strategic growth in the business.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, I think the way you've just laid it out, yeah, I can absolutely see the logic behind it. I want to ask you about retail media more generally now because US retailers, I'm based in London, and I feel like US retailers have really embraced this in a much bigger way than what we're seeing here in the UK. I mean, the UK is catching up, but it just to give some context for our listeners, Walmart's advertising segment is now a $4 billion business, which is the size of Primark's entire business here in the UK and Ireland. So just for
Oh, wow. I
context, it's
didn't know
huge,
that.
right?
Oh, wow.
So clearly this is a fast growing and also a highly profitable income stream that retailers around the world are looking to capitalize on. So what's your view on retail media, Kelly? Why is it exploding now? And how do you see this evolving in the future?
So I think it's exploding because all retailers, I mean, I would say all businesses in general, but retail specifically, I mean, if you think about it now, like the last 5 years, it's been an absolute street fight, right? It really has. You know, the world's changed. We were all sent home. I personally haven't been inside of a grocery store since COVID. I do everything online, everything I'll do, so everything has changed. And so as executives, if you think about even like executive teams or CEOs, they have three people they serve, right? They have employees, customers, and shareholders. That's their job, is to serve those constituencies evenly. And when you look at your business and you're looking at, okay, what can we monetize to ensure that we stay here and exist for all of our consumers and further, be able to serve them? One of the things that you look at is, okay, what's the kind of digital traffic that you have coming to all your digital properties? And that's how you start going down the ad path, right? I think the thing you have to be careful of, and I think what makes David so special, is we're not advertising, Natalie, for the heck of it. We didn't just wake up one day and say, we're going to launch an ad platform on our site and hopefully it works. Like, the difference between what even Walmart's doing, although I think that they've done an amazing job, the difference between them and us is that we are embedding those ads appropriately and AI generatively inside of a wedding journey that is very specific to her dream, her theme, her likes, her dislikes, and it's very specific, and it follows this path inside the Pearl Planner, which is going to be launching in a couple of weeks. So it's not just advertising. It's like we're walking along this journey with her, and at each step we're providing her an ad that is connected to what she's looking for. So we're not going to serve her an ad for, a winter fur coat that goes around your wedding gown if you're getting married on a beach in Aruba in May. That's an example. So it's very specific to her. And that's, again, the power of the first party data. That's what makes the first party data and the wedding journey together. And thankfully, with the additional benefit of 90% of all brides hit the David's ecosystem. That's
Wow.
so I know when I got to David's, I was like, wait, what? 90% of our TAM enters our ecosystem? Do you guys know how much of a blessing that is? And all the
Yeah.
marketers that are listening are like, yeah, I wish I had that problem. That's a great problem to have. But anyway, it's a privilege, right? It's, again, we are a servant's heart culture. We believe you're either serving her or serving somebody who is. And when you combine that all together, I mean, being able to step in as CEO is literally, no pun intended, a dream come true. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that 90% number is just, it's mind blowing, isn't it? And I imagine that that gives you a ton of insight into customer habits and how that's evolving and expectations evolving. So I'd love to know, what are you seeing from your shoppers? What are the big trends that are shaping the bridal industry right now?
Oh, so this is such a fun topic. So there's really like three things that we just are blown away by. One is the absolute 100% customization and personalization of everything that she wants. The rules are, there are no rules, right? There are no rules. We're wearing cowboy boots with wedding gowns under, $3,000 Ola Cassini gowns that we sell. They're doing cigar rolling at the wedding itself. They're serving chocolate chip cookies and ice cold milk for their wedding guests when they're leaving the event. Like, it's so beautiful to see her dream come true in her way. And Natalie, this is true whether somebody's spending $1,000 on a wedding or $100,000 on a wedding. We have all brides in between. And so that feels really good that with Pearl and all of the things that we're launching, that we can serve her in that way and fulfill that dream. The second trend, which is super interesting, is the digitization of the wedding. So now they have QR codes that accompany your nameplate by your table, and you scan the QR codes, and people are uploading videos to their massive wedding library. So the bride and the groom, in addition to their professional photographer that is actually taking the professional photos, you've got 250 wedding guests powering that library with all kinds of crazy photos, and they are hilarious. Like, some of them are just like so amazing. I think the third thing that is sort of transforming our industry is really AI, and bringing her vision and rendering it in front of her in a way that allows her to see it, and doing that through tools like AI. Because again, a lot of brides are like, do I want champagne wedding dresses? Do I want green? How is that going to look against an ocean? Do I want them to have the same dress? Do I want them to have different dresses, same color? And like, those are the kinds of things that she's considering and thinking through. And that's where our AI tools really come together and serve her. So we're hitting it in all cylinders. We are obsessed with customer feedback, like obsessed, Natalie, and we are constantly talking to her. In addition to your point, mining the data that we have coming from her on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, so interesting. And I'm glad you mentioned AI because I was going to ask you about technology and how you're seeing that the impact of it on the shopping experience. But I guess to your point, it's not just about, the walking into a store and buying something and leaving. It's a, what is it, 18-month, plus
Right.
process where you have an opportunity to reach the shopper. But I know you've done some really interesting things with AI, with virtual try-ons, virtual mood boards, that sort of thing. So, can you talk us through this and which technologies you feel have been most valuable when it comes to enhancing that overall experience for the customer?
That's great. Yeah. So, during COVID, I think we did 10 years of retail development in 10 months, literally. I mean, that was actually a serendipitous example of just our ability to pivot, because when that happened, we had to immediately, we've never done curbside pickup. I mean, that's an example. That's what you do with eggs and bread, not a wedding gown, right? And so we very quickly launched that. Now we don't really offer that service anymore. It's not a need from the customer, but that's an example of how we pivot and listen to the customer. We implemented augmented reality on our website during COVID because she couldn't come to the store, and she could come to our site and actually render the dress in a 360 model in the room that she was sitting in. She could literally walk around the dress as it was rendered through AI in front
Oh,
of her.
wow.
Yeah, so those are other examples. But I think the big pivot so far with AI that has really started to transform our business is really on the marketing side. Dave Philman, our CMO, Yoav, who is our CDO, our Chief Digital Officer, and Caroline Kelly, who's running loyalty for us, they are transforming marketing. 100% of all of our owned communications are AI driven now. 100%. About
Wow.
over
100%.
yeah, we started that 3 years ago. Over half of our content, our paid content, so about half of our paid content in market is AI driven. So AI will modify subject lines, modify colors, modify copy real time based on how consumers are responding to that content in market. And we've had an incredible relationship with our partners. We're very grateful for our partnerships and the fact that we've been beta partners with Apple and Google and Meta. We have a great agency, Icon, that helps us advance these technologies. They've been super supportive as we've migrated this journey. So feeling really good about the business, feeling good about our ability to serve her and the way she wants to be served.
Yeah. And you mentioned curbside pickup during COVID, but I don't know, do people buy wedding dresses online? Is that a thing? Or like what's the role of sort of, I mean, I guess most sales today are digitally influenced, but and especially in your category, I'm sure when it comes to discovery with social media, Pinterest and Instagram, I'm sure that plays a huge role. But I don't know, just how important is the store and how are you seeing stores evolve?
Oh,
Sorry, I've just thrown like four questions at you, but
no, no, I'm picking up, putting down. I'm smelling what you're cooking. No worries. I got your back. So let's break it apart. Let's take the store. So the store for bridal is absolutely crucial. And I will explain why. And I will use a personal story to explain why. Um, my son Dalton, one of the triplets, is like 6'3", 250 pounds, size 15 foot, just a big old country boy, right? Super, super sweet kid. He got married to his bride, Chris, this beautiful, voluptuous, curvy woman, right? And I took her to buy her wedding dress. And I think she's probably like a size 18 or something. Anyway, she put on one of our Oleg Cassini gowns. And of course, I'm in a store and I'm talking to employees and I'm looking at her and talking about like I'm really kind of not paying attention, if I'm honest, to what was happening because she tried on so many dresses. Anyway, she stopped and she looked in the mirror and she said, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen my waist before."
Wow.
So that, Natalie, is why the store experience is so crucial. Fit is everything. Most women, I mean, and I'm like this too, most of the time I feel fine. Sometimes I feel like a busted can of biscuits, right? Like we all feel that way sometimes. Most women
We
don't.
fluctuate.
Yeah, we fluctuate, right? But we don't kind of like our bodies in general. I don't, women, I don't like my arms, I don't like my breasts, I don't like my legs or my waist or whatever it may be. And all of that emotion is coming into the store for that appointment. And our stylists are trained for 4 weeks straight on nothing but that bridal appointment. And that's how important that bridal appointment is to us because she's thinking, oh, I don't like my breast or my arms. What am I going to do? I don't know what dress to get. Do I get mermaid? Do I get clean and modern? Do I get ball gown or what? These pictures are going to last a lifetime. My grandkids are going to see them. What happens if it rains on the bed? Like she is completely consumed by those kinds of things. And our job is to eliminate that stress, bring that dream to life, let her know in that gown that she is the most beautiful version she'll ever going to be at that moment in that gown. And that's why the store experience is so crucial. The majority of bridal gowns are sold in store because of those kinds of reasons.
Yeah, yeah, so interesting. I want to ask you a couple questions about leadership, Kelly. First, let's talk about the kind of transition from CMO to CEO, which is what you've just done. This seems to be a growing trend. We've seen it recently at Starbucks, Avon, Taco Bell, a ton of brands. And I'd love to know, why do you think that is? Do you think it's become a more viable pathway today?
It's really amazing to see this trend and it's exciting. And I think that my view on this is simply this: the story you tell about your brand and the experience of the brand itself are now one and the same, right? I mean, if you think about it, 60 years ago, you'd run a TV commercial, you'd run an ad in a newspaper, and then people would drive to a store and experience your brand, right? Everything is so intertwined digitally, social media, social commerce, all of that. It's all the same. And I think marketers, through their training, develop an acumen for ensuring that what they're selling to the customer and what they're telling the customer about what we're selling them are the same. And I think that sort of inherently drives a sort of 360 view of business operations or finance or technology, especially, or data health and privacy. Like you're sort of like involved in a lot of different aspects of the business. And I think that's probably a little bit of it. It's certainly consistent with my own personal experiences.
Kelly, as a female retail CEO, I'd love to get your thoughts on women in leadership roles. We know that in retail, women make the majority of purchasing decisions, but when it comes to who's leading these businesses, women are still pretty underrepresented. So we know there's been progress, but we're nowhere near equity yet. And I'd love to know, why do you think that this is? What's stopping progress? What are the barriers that still exist today? And how can we overcome them?
So this is a really good question. In my personal experience, I've never felt like, to be honest, Natalie, I've had a barrier because I'm a woman. I've never felt that way. I've embraced, feedback and input from, all kinds of people, men, women, positions lower than me, positions higher than me, positions across the aisle. And I've never felt, held back because I'm a woman. I think in general, as women, I think that, we tend to, be a little bit more self-critical sometimes than our male counterparts. There's a lot of traits that I feel like are inherently in men that I think women could do a better job, acting like. Men typically, can argue in a boardroom and then go play golf, right? And women tend to be probably a little bit more, emotional about things. But I think in general, my advice to anybody, male or female, is multifaceted. One is, go the extra mile. It's never crowded. Regardless if you're male or female, go the extra mile. It's never crowded. Two, be brave enough to suck at something new. Like, the world is changing all around us. Keep and embrace that sort of intellectual curiosity that about what's going on in the world around you. Three, have courage, right? Courage is fear that said its prayer, right? And then four, keep your dreams alive. Do something every day that gets you closer to your dream. And I mean, if cauliflower can become pizza, anything can happen. I mean, stay the path.
Fantastic advice. Kelly, it's been so wonderful to have you on the podcast, and all the best in your new role.
Thank you, Natalie. It was a blast.
Thank you for listening to Retail Disrupted. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the podcast, please leave a rating or review or share it with others. It really makes a difference.